So I encourage you guys to dance while we're food processing. Put it on. Hope you guys are dancing.
Welcome everybody to this edition of the Community Kitchen. My name is Zach Marks, and I'm the host of these Community Kitchen series, where every month we learn a new recipe from a new part of the world, and from a cook who's from that culture, and they share some stories of those dishes. We are so fortunate this week to be joined by Tannaz Sassooni, who is an incredible Iranian-Jewish chef. She's been compiling Iranian-Jewish recipes for the last, well, basically for her whole adult life, and has put those into a cookbook, which we can't wait to see. And she's here to share some Persian Passover sweets and tea recipes with us. Just a quick note about today's class. It is a fundraiser for Know Us Without You, which is an organization doing a lot of work to provide food security for undocumented immigrants working in the hospitality industry in LA. You know, in this pandemic season, we're reminded of how much we have to be grateful for. So if you're able to, we hope you'll consider making a donation to that organization. And I've just posted the link to donate link in the chat. I hope this works. And without further ado, I want to turn it over to Tannaz, and I'm going to put her on spotlight so you all can see her. And let's begin. Tannaz, you got the floor.
All right, awesome. Hello, Zach. Thank you so much for putting this all together. I'm so excited to share some recipes and some stories and some of my experiences with y'all. As Zach mentioned, I'm Iranian-Jewish. I was born in Iran. I came to the United States with my family when I was a year old. And right now, so yesterday was the first day of spring. And it's kind of like a big time for being Iranian and being Jewish right now. Today, or I guess yesterday, marks Nowruz, the Persian New Year. And Passover is coming up. It varies in our Western calendar, but it's always and so I'm going to make some sweets and show you guys how we make tea as well, because tea and sweets, like, that's just classic Persian hospitality. Anytime you go to somebody's house, they will always have some sweets prepared. They'll always make you a cup of tea. It's a wonderful way to get people together, which is what this whole thing is all about. What we'll be doing, like I said, I'll be showing you how we make tea. It's my favorite way to make tea. I think that the tea that comes out of it is the best. You get the best, cleanest flavor. And then we're going to be making 3 different sweets. They're all kosher Passover. They're all happen to be gluten-free as well. And there's actually, like, the cooking is pretty limited. There's a lot of assembly. But we're making, first we'll be making loz'e nargil, which is coconut diamonds. And then toot, which is, it's basically a simple marzipan that is shaped into the shape of white mulberries, which the word toot means berry in Persian. If you speak Arabic or Hebrew, you might know the word toot. Toot is like strawberry in Hebrew as well, but it's, you know, it's in the berry realm in that part of the world. And then the last one is badam sookteh, which is like a burnt caramel almond. For that one, we'll be going over to the stove. But before we start with the sweets, let's talk about tea a little bit. So like I said, you always want to have tea ready for whoever may come by and however many people might come by. So the way that that's sort of mitigated in Persian households is this like double boiler system for making tea. And let me talk about it. So basically you have these sit on top of each other. And every household has one of these. It's kind of based on like the same system as like a Russian samovar. But what you do is you fill the bottom kettle with water and you boil that. And then in your top kettle, you'll put your tea leaves. I have like a tea ball, which you can have or not have. You can just pour them loose if you have a strainer so that you don't end up with them in your glass on the other side. You fill this with your tea leaves. And once your water comes to a boil, you'll pour some of it into the top one and you'll let the whole thing steep on low heat. The idea with Persian tea, one of the many ideas, is that you never want your tea to boil. It's very, very important that the tea doesn't boil. So you leave it on low heat and you just let the bottom one simmer, and this one will stay at like a hot enough to steep, but not too hot to boil. And then when it comes time to pour your tea, what you'll do is you will take you always in a glass. I mean, these are not traditional. The traditional, they're much smaller. They're probably about that big, and they are kind of beautiful, narrow-waisted cups, but or glasses, I should say. Always in a glass so you can see the beautiful color. But what you'll do is you'll have like a concentrated tea mixture on top. So you'll pour from this one. We'll do it. I don't know why I'm like pantomiming it. We'll do the actual thing up to like thereabouts, and then top it off with hot water. And with that method, you can also adjust how strong it is per person. So it's a great system. Anyway, what I'm going to do now is just put the water to boil. And then once it comes to a boil, we'll make the whole tea. We'll get it going. But I'll just put this on the fire for now.
Sounds wonderful.
Okay, now that that's out of the way, we can start cooking. The first thing we're going to make is, like I said, loz'e nargil, which are these coconut diamonds. It's a there's no fire involved in this one. It is more of an assembly one. A mix of shredded coconut, sugar, rosewater, and egg whites. What else can I tell you about it? We can talk about rosewater quickly. It's like a distillate from roses. It smells incredibly perfumey. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this scent, but I love it so much. And let's just go ahead and do this. So,
now, is there a particular rosewater brand you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I have come to discover is that domestic brands just taste and smell like water. So you always want to get imported. This like Cortes brand is very reliable. It's a Lebanese company. There are Iranian ones too that are good. I should mention also, as far as like Passover is concerned, you can get, Cortes has like, if you need everything to be like marked kosher, you can get Cortes rosewater that is kosher, which is shocking to me that this Lebanese company does it, but I mean, business is business, so it's great.
Awesome. I was just spotlighting Anjali because she seemed to have the same brand.
Oh, do you have the same brand?
And I went to the Persian grocery store this morning, and the guy, I had originally picked out a different bottle because it kind of had a prettier label. And the guy was like, no, like everyone's been waiting for this shipment of to come in. And I was like,
turn that off now.
Because I'm making sweets today for Persian Passover. So he pointed me in the right direction.
I'm glad he set you straight. That's awesome. Okay, so I'm just gonna measure everything right into the bowl of the food processor. And I'm sorry that some of these recipes are in like kilograms and grams and some are in cups, but they come from different places. Oh, I should also mention something like about this recipe as we go, which is like, these are family recipes. My oldest aunt, my mom's oldest sister, my auntie Mohtaram, was in her 90s, and she's really the keeper of a lot of this like lore and heritage. And unfortunately, we lost her in December of this year. She's 91 years old. She went to sleep and didn't wake up in the morning. And so when I was preparing for this event, I asked my mom, I was like, Mom, do you have a recipe for loz'e nargil? And she was like, no, we would have had to ask. So this recipe is like kind of a combination of like some information I had from my auntie Mohtaram and some information I've gotten online, but I think I've put it together into something that's gonna work well. Let's try this again. I'm a little excited here with this scale. Yeah. Okay, so what did we say? 250 grams of coconut. I'm just using regular old shredded unsweetened coconut. I mentioned in the information that we emailed you guys that I'm using granulated sugar here and powdered sugar in the other recipe. You can use powdered sugar here as well. Some people don't use powdered sugar during Passover because of the cornstarch. So if that is an issue, you could always grind up. Oh, well, I mean, in this one, it doesn't matter. We're using granulated. We'll get to that when we get to the toots. Okay, so I have 250 here and 125 of granulated sugar. Oh, this is not going to come out very quickly. Let's go this way. Make a whole mess. That helps. Okay, close enough, 130. And then now that we have it measured out,
are they like the last time you did them or a few times ago? I didn't like.
So what I do is I am gonna, before I add in the egg whites and the rosewater, grind these together first, just to get it more fine, because you do want it to really hold together. So it's gonna get loud.
Right. Tannaz, a question for you while you're blending that. Not sure if you can hear us, but should the egg whites be room temperature?
Probably. It's for the best. It doesn't really make that big of a difference, but yeah, they're gonna get they're gonna get chilled anyway. Yeah. I feel like this isn't fully mixing.
And do you have if folks don't have rose water or want to use rose water, any alternatives you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, what could you do? I mean, you could do water, and then for the flavoring, maybe you could try vanilla, a little bit of vanilla as the flavoring. Almond extract, I see that. That's a great idea. Or even coconut extract to really like drive home the coconut flavor. I'm just gonna go in here a little because it doesn't seem like it's mixing. Okay. You're welcome. Pretty much better. I think that's good. So, and I should mention too, what we're going to do is we'll add the egg whites into here. We'll get sort of a paste. We'll put it in a dish, and then we're going to let it chill. Ideally, you'd let it chill for several hours, but we're just going to wait until the end of the class and then cut it into the diamonds. Okay, let's do it. 2 egg whites. I'm going to bring a bowl for my egg yolk. Let's edge my back still.
We're not looking at recipes, Mark.
So egg white number 1. Be cautious, don't put your egg yolks in there. We're not going for volume here. The egg whites are just to bind everything together. So you don't have to worry too much about the temperature. And like I said, it is gonna chill, so it's all good. This guy doesn't want to come with us, which is fine. I've been watching that new Michelle Obama Waffles and Mochi. It's like a cooking show for kids on Netflix. It's amazing. And whenever they use like a blender or food processor, they like do a little dance, which I think is really smart for a cooking show because you can't do much of anything else. So I encourage you guys to dance while we're food processing. Okay.
Will you show us your food processor dance next time you blend it?
Yeah, that's what we're all gonna dance together. You guys aren't gonna leave me hanging. And a 1/4 cup of rose water. And then we just mix that all together and dance. You ready?
All right. I got my phone ready for this rose water.
Put it on. Hope you guys are dancing.
Let's see. Anyone else got their Rosewater food processor dances going?
Is anyone dancing?
Oh, Barbara's definitely dancing. Oh, and Laura. Oh, that was I like the dance I saw. I see Nathan. Let's bring in spotlight. I'm gonna spotlight Nathan's little food processor dance here. You got a cool setup too, Nathan. All right.
All right. I think we're good. So what you want? I might give it. Yeah, I think we're good. Give it another second. All right. Okay. So what what you want is like a paste, basically. And then you just need a dish that you're gonna put it all in. And that's our next move. So, up there, and just pop this all, there we go, into here. I feel like my, you know what? It looks like my blade was not all the way down at the bottom of the bowl of the food processor. So I have some dry coconut at the bottom of mine, which I am not going to put in the dish. Just gonna leave it in there.
Progress, not perfection.
What's that?
Progress, not perfection.
That's right, that's fine.
This
is, again, these are like granny recipes, so it's not like they were measuring things out with perfect.
Just mix it up with your fingers. Then you can lick your fingers.
We have a question, which is it possible to add cocoa and make chocolate?
It's certainly possible. It sounds delicious to me. It's not something that I've tried, but it's definitely worth experimenting with. Can't be bad.
Judith, you'll have to try it out and
yeah, for sure. Report back on that one.
And Jennifer asks, if it's not a wet enough dough, should you add more rose water or egg white or what?
Yeah, you can add more rose water. You can even add just like a little bit of water if you don't want to go crazy with the rose water. Just
red
will make it super fragrant too, which is not bad. Okay, and so once you have this in here.
Last question, Julie asks, her batter is red from the rose water? Is that okay?
Oh, was the rose water pink or red or something?
Oh, it looks like here, let's spotlight Julie's rose water.
Oh, I don't know what that is. It looks like maybe it's like a rose syrup of some sort. I wonder if it's South Asian, like an Indian ingredient.
Here, Julie, can you come on?
It says it's a concentrate and it's from Pakistan.
Yeah, I think it might be sweetened. So I would be cautious with how much sugar you add to that because it might get crazy sweet.
Okay. I hope I didn't ruin it.
It'll be different, but it won't necessarily be bad. It'll just be different. Okay, so what I'm doing is just smoothing out the top of this. I think, let's see. I actually think that a cup is a better choice than an offset spatula. I've given you guys the option. Like what you can do is just smooth it out into the dish. You want it to be about an inch, half an inch to an inch thick. It'll be slightly sticky when it's wet, but it should be hopefully okay. As smooth as you can get it. The grannies definitely did not have offset spatulas. So I think the bottom of the glass is probably your most traditional bet too. Okay.
Oh, Tannaz, can I ask you for the sake of everyone, just speak a little bit more slowly, just for folks to hear?
Am I talking too fast?
No, I think we're just all very excited about the sweets. I don't know. We just got a request for it.
Absolutely. Sorry, I'm a fast talker. Okay.
Oh, and one last question about the dish. Do you need to oil the dish?
No, you don't need to oil it. You will have a few casualties that the cook can consume. At the end, the corners and things like that, it doesn't always, you won't get 100% perfection here, but oiling it, I don't think it needs it. It should be fine. And yes, 1/4 C is 1/4 cup for sure. Okay, so all you have to do with this at this point is put it in the fridge, and we'll get back to it at the end. And with that, my water is boiling, so let's make some tea.
Last question here. Is it okay that the egg whites are raw? Someone?
It is okay with me. I do eat raw egg whites, and it's something that I am okay with. If it's not something that you're okay with, I think there's a temperature that you can bring them to, at which point they are okay to cook with, like by all counts. So you could like parboil them at a very low temperature until they get to that point. But yeah, that's a personal choice. Okay, let's make some tea. I'm gonna bring that on because it's gonna be hot. Hot. All right, so we have our boiling water. We have our small teapot. Again, you don't have to be very particular here about how much tea you use because you're going to have a chance to adjust it when you pour it. So I would say go fairly big just because you want it to be concentrated so that you'll have something strong to work with along with the water. So I'll show you how much I'm putting in. I don't know, probably like 2 tablespoons-ish, maybe a little more than that. Looks like maybe 3 tablespoons. My tea ball is broken. There should be hinged together here, but it's gonna be okay. And then if you don't have a double boiler like this, it's not the end of the world. I would just say when you are making tea for yourself, don't steep it for a very long time, especially even with tea bags. It doesn't need that long. It needs like maybe 10 or 20, not 10, 20 to 40 seconds, because with tea bags, the tea is already chopped up and they give you a ton of it. So it steeps very quickly. But you don't want to get those like bitter tones, but we'll show you. You're asking me what brand. I don't know. It's a brand that I bought from a local, Kalami Gulabi tea. It says, I don't know, Vazne Kholase Pan. I can't really read it very well. Get them. I don't know. But it's a brand that I bought from like Super King, which is our local, like every ethnicity market, Latino, Middle Eastern, South Asian, everything. It's made in India for Iran. Like it's all in Persian, but it's made in India. It's really good. It's one that I've used for a long time. It's really good. If you want to get a good flavor that like emulates Persian tea, a blend of Darjeeling and English breakfast, Darjeeling and Earl Grey is like a good kind of facsimile of that. And is it black tea? Yes, it's black tea. Does it have caffeine? Yes, it has caffeine. But again, you can adjust how strong you make it at pouring time. And then sweet and tea all year round. You eat Persian sweets and tea all year round. But these ones they're ones that we eat, especially during Passover, because they don't have flour, they're not leavened, there's none of that. So they're ones that come up at this part of the year. Okay, let's pour some tea in here, or some water in here. I like to pour my water directly over the tea leaves. This is by no means a requirement. You guys have no idea how much is in here, but I'd say that I have, this will probably give me like 3 or 4 cups of tea. It's up to about there in the pot. And then I still have like a full pot of water here. And so what I'll do now is close this one, put this on top of this, and put it on a low burner and just let it steep for as long as, until my guests show up and I'm ready to pour them tea. So let's do that.
Tannaz, what's the origin of that double boiler kettle?
The double boiler kettle. This is a good question. I believe it's related to like Russian samovar. And in a lot of Persian homes, they will have a samovar that's electric these days for when you have a lot of people over. And what that is like a giant kettle that originally was heated with coal underneath, and the same deal where you have like a little pot of concentrated tea on top, and then you can pour and adjust per cup. So that's that. So at the end of the class,
I'm looking through the video. Does anyone here have a samovar or a double boiler at home?
Good question.
I do.
Who's that?
I do, from New York.
I'm trying to find you. Who are you? I need to.
Virginia.
I want to spotlight you. Can you show us the? Do you have the samovar easily viewable?
Oh.
If it's not, it's okay. I just thought it would be cool to show it to everyone.
Oh, okay. I don't know how to do it. I turn my camera towards it.
I don't know if you can.
Can.
No pressure.
It's a Russian samovar.
Thanks for showing us. This is exciting.
Cool.
Oh, here it is. Can you see it?
Oh no, I feel like we just lost.
Can you see it?
I feel like I just lost connection, Virginia.
Yes, no, we can see it.
Oh no, we can see it. Oh, there it is.
Oh,
Cool.
I love
And
that.
And this is Rena.
Hi, did you see the samovar?
Yeah.
Oh,
I have
Rena
one.
has one too.
Yeah, I've got one from Iran.
Oh yeah? Oh, that's beautiful.
Wow.
We were in Iran when I was in the 8th grade. My father had a sabbatical. He was studying Judeo-Persian.
I want to talk to your father.
Well, he's not alive anymore,
but I'm so curious.
But I even know about 20 words in you know, خواهش میکنم رقیب یواش حرف بزنید.
That's what Zach told me at the beginning. She said, خواهش میکنم یواش حرف بزنید. Please talk slowly.
I think that's the only sentence I know.
That's awesome. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
There's a question in the chat about the mixture not coming together. You can add more coconut. You know, depending on the brands, and depending on how big your egg whites are, the dry to wet ratio might vary. So if it's too watery or too wet, just add more coconut and that'll add to the dry and hopefully get it to something a little stiffer. And again, as it sits in the fridge, it will like come together and hold a little better, but it shouldn't be like liquidy though.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay, shall we move on to the next? These ones are my favorite. So this one, like I said, is called toot. They're little mulberries. I will say that like I should have done a little better research before today, but marzipan does come from this part of the world. And there's actually like, so my Auntie Mohtaram, who I just mentioned, her husband came from a city called Khorramshahr, where there's a lot of trade with Iraq. So all of his sisters-in-law were Iraqi. So she's learned a lot of Iraqi Jewish recipes as well. And another thing that they make at this time, they call it like mansafan or masafan or something like that. Like the word is the same as marzipan, like it's clearly the same word. And it's a similar recipe to this, but it's actually baked. They bake little, they shape them into Stars of David. Anyway, but yeah, so there is history in this part of the world to make marzipan. And again, so what we're doing is we're making, what they're gonna look like is cute little berries. And let's do it. Again, it's similar to what we've already been doing. Let me make sure I have the amounts right here. A cup of almond flour.
Just to be clear, we're not actually using any mulberries. We're making.
That's correct.
Cool.
And the reason this calls for peeled almonds for the almond flour or blanched almonds, it's just for the color. And I will mention, like, you can color these. A lot of times people will put in like a drop of red food coloring or green food coloring. You can add some brewed saffron to get little yellow ones. You get pretty pastel colors. We're gonna do the basics here, but maybe we'll do some saffron for some of them. We'll see. Invariably making a mess of almond flour here. Let's do it over the bowl, shall we? Is that about a cup? A little more? Cup of almond flour. Again, I am not being specific about it. We're not baking here. You don't have to be perfect about the measurements. Cup of powdered sugar. I didn't open this bag.
Do you have any recommendations for folks if they don't have powdered sugar? Is it possible to use a mix of sugar and cornstarch or something, or is it?
Yeah, you can mix together. I mean, you can look at recipes online too for the specifics of that. But even if you just do sugar that you've ground finely in the food processor, you should be good there. And again, I could have done that here because some people don't actually do powdered sugar during Passover because of the cornstarch, but Persians don't worry about those things. So I don't worry about those things. Over wax paper. That is an excellent tip. Going back to the rosewater, we like that ingredient. I will mention also Persian sweets. There's like a trifecta of very fragrant flavors. Rosewater, cardamom, and saffron. We will be using cardamom soon. We won't be using saffron, but every sweet that like in the Persian cuisine always has anywhere from 1 to 3 of these. Like always, always, always. Those flavors make it taste Persian, or even smell Persian. All right, what did we say? 3 tablespoons of rosewater. Oh, okay. So what we're gonna do here, I'm actually not going to measure it, is we're just gonna stir this together and then add the rosewater kind of as much as it will take or as much as it needs. I have a spoon for this. So I'm gonna stir it together first without, just to get it kind of evenly mixed. So you have a homogeneous mixture of sugar and almond flour. And then we'll bring in the rosewater little by little at a time. Okay. Let's start.
I will just come clean and say I tried to mix the rosewater in before the dry.
I mean, again, it comes down to, I'm gonna turn this down. Steaming away. It comes down to ratios, so you can always add more almond flour, add more sugar if you have too much rose water. But let's see what it looks like. So I'm just going to add a little drizzle in and start stirring and see where we get. It won't be enough, but better to have too little than too much, right, Zach?
Yep, maybe too late for me, but it does smell delicious.
All right, let's add a little more. That didn't get us too far. And as you get closer, you kind of want to smush it more than just mixing it. You kind of want to, so that it like really kneads into the dry stuff and gets incorporated. But it will get there, I promise.
Tannaz, did you already add the pinch of salt?
Oh, did I say there's a pinch of salt? Oh, I forgot about that.
No, I was looking at the written recipe also. So far I just have the almonds and the powdered sugar.
Yeah, let's do a pinch of salt as well. I forgot about that. Thank you. Yeah. Keep going. I'm gonna do a little more. Not quite there yet. Actually, a little more than that. We'll keep going here. We are getting closer. I'm gonna push that off. I made these recently and I only made half the recipe. So I think in my head, I'm used to using less rose water, but I think I just gotta go for it. I made halva, which is another Persian sweet, recently for another one of these demos. And I had my mom try it. And she was like, Tannaz, there's not enough sugar, there's not enough rose water, there's not enough cardamom, and there's not enough saffron. So I think that I need to have a heavier hand than I'm used to with my aromatic.
Wrong recipe. Or it's the wrong recipe.
Okay,
Mom's gonna be tough to please, Tannaz, so don't feel too bad.
I really appreciate her feedback. She's the queen of this stuff, so that is how I learn. And I did the second time around. She was very pleased. It came out perfect, so it's all good.
Zach, are you cooking too?
I am. Thanks for asking. I got my Persian marzipan mulberry mix going on in here.
Good for you, multitasking.
Oh well, we're all multitasking in this Zoom age.
Yeah.
So true. So true. Okay, I think I am where I need to be. So just to give you guys an idea, it's like it's a kind of moldable, tacky texture, and like it's not drenched in rosewater, but it's definitely got like almost like a Play-Doh consistency to it. That's probably the best way to describe it. And make sure that it's all mixed in. And then once you're there, we can start sort of crafting these things. I will not put my fingers in my mouth because I'm in front of people. Let's get it.
Oh, I'm in front of people and I just put my fingers in my mouth.
All right, I've already terrified you guys with the raw egg whites. I don't want to go too far with my lackadaisicalness here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to now shape this into our little mulberries. And I'll show you the shape. But what we'll do is I have a bowl of sugar here. You can do it on a plate. You can do it in a bowl. I definitely poured out more than a 1/4 cup, but it was the bottom of the box, so I just went for it. So what we do is we make a little ball. We roll it up in our hands. You can make, you can shape it a little bit so it's kind of pointy at one end, but there's a lot of like artistic license available to you there. And then we'll roll them in the sugar so they get that really pretty kind of shimmery look. And then the last thing we'll do is you can use either slivered almonds, which I have here, slivered almonds, or preferably, although they're harder to get, but I got them online, I have slivered pistachios. And they're this like beautiful bright green color. And you just like poke it into the end and that makes the stem of the mulberry. So here, less talking, more doing here. So I'm just gonna take a little, yay much. And again, these are quite sweet and they're quite fragrant. So you don't need to make like, they can be small. It's just like a sweet, soft bite to have along with your tea. So, you know, yeah, keep that in mind. So we can go even smaller than that. And they're cute when they're small also. I think they're just more charming that way. So, you know, you can go with a simple ball shape. You can make it a little pointier on one end and a little flatter on the other for that kind of shape. And then you roll it in the sugar. And then once you have it out, you just take your stem and you just pop it into the end. And that's your little guy. That's it. So now what we'll do is.
So you're rolling it in powdered sugar?
I'm rolling it in granulated sugar.
Granulated sugar, okay.
Because you do want that like kind of shiny crystalliness for the outside. And it will help you if you wet your hands, if it's all sticking to your hands. And I'm gonna do that real quick.
So my little balls are pretty wet. Are they gonna dry up or?
They will, hold on. They will get more dry. Oh, sure.
So do I need to add in more, like, do I just need to add in more almond?
You can add in more almond if it's feeling too wet.
Very wet.
Ooh, Anjali, yours almost look like dark. Did you use like a brown sugar?
Yeah, because I used almond meal instead of almond flour because I got the wrong thing.
That's what, when I was testing them out, I used that as well. And then I was like, oop, that's not the right color, but they'll still taste really good. And I actually kind of like the way that looks. I think it looks really pretty, but it's just not, it's just not traditional, but
okay.
Good.
Cool.
So that's our task for the moment, is just making these little balls.
While we're making these little balls, oh, you know what? I want to see how everyone else is doing before I ask you about Persian Passover traditions. Let's see. Oh, Julie, it looks like you got a good marzipan rolling operation going over there. Woo! Oh, you got the Pakistani pink rosewater. Yep, nice. Okay. Let's see. Oh, Barbara, those are some. Oh, very
nice.
Yeah. Let's see. Who else has some mulberries to show off? Jacob's family, how you guys doing?
Adorable. I love that.
Oh, they look like little dreidels.
Wow.
Okay. Oh, Nicole and the family. Spotlighting you guys. Hi.
Aww. I love those. They're adorable.
Cool. All right. I guess we can begin with maybe while we're rolling these, Tannaz, you want to share a little bit of Persian Passover lore?
Yes, I can definitely do that. So I actually wrote about this stuff last week for the forward, and maybe some of you read that, but just like our Passover is different in many ways. In my obviously last year was different, but usually we have like one big long table with tons of like aunts, uncles, cousins, whatever. And there's just like traditions that are very different at our Passover Seder from like what's known, like the Ashkenazi ones that are more well known here in the States. It's very loud. We yell across the table a lot. Our Seders are a mix of Hebrew, Persian, English, of course, because we've been in the country for 40 years. So like our family has a lot of non-Iranian people in it as well, especially the youngsters don't all speak Persian. In past years, I have made my family talk about their own exodus at our Seders, which I think is a really important thing to do. We have in our lived experience of our actual generation, a story of having to flee a country because of, in our case, revolution. So that's always awesome. I mean, always awesome to hear those stories, I think. What else can I tell you? We have a delicious haroset that like, is it possible to do in a blender? Someone's asking. I'm not sure. Maybe try it. Should be okay. Dry ingredients. I don't know. Try it. We have our haroset, like my grandfather, my dad's dad, faxed from Israel his handwritten recipe decades ago. My grandfather is no longer with us, but we use his recipe every year. And it's fruits, nuts, dried fruit, wine, vinegar, everything, like spices. It has a million things. And my dad, we have like an old hand crank meat grinder, like this kind of meat grinder that it like blows out in this direction when you turn the thing, that my dad pulls out every year just for haroset. And it is so delicious that we eat it the rest of the week along with matzah. It's like my favorite Passover breakfast. We use vinegar instead of salt water to dip our parsley, which isn't parsley, it's celery leaves. We use bitter lettuce for our bitter herbs. So there's just like all these interesting differences. And of course, we have all this variety of sweets. So yeah.
I hear there's like a tradition with whipping each other with this.
That's right. I forgot the absolute best part. So it is a Persian tradition in every family. I don't know of any other culture that does it, but during the song Dayenu, which is where it's basically a song of gratitude, like Dayenu in Hebrew means it would have been enough if speaking to God and saying like, if you had just given us the Torah and not whatever, if you had just given us this thing and not this thing, it would have been enough. And while we sing this song, every person at the Seder table, children, great-grandparents, in-laws, sons-in-law, everyone gets a scallion, their own individual scallion. And we run around the table and we whip each other with the scallions. And I know it sounds totally insane, and maybe it is a little bit, but it's the most fun and the most silly. So yeah, that's, if you ever go to a Persian Seder, you have that to look forward to. Oh, and the last thing I'll say is that like Ashkenazi Jews, Eastern European Jews don't eat, there's like a whole class of things called kitniot, that's like rice, legumes, all these things that aren't wheat or grain, but Ashkenazi Jews still do not eat them. We have, our rules are a little less cut and dry, like they're a little more confusing, but one thing that we definitely do is eat rice. We absolutely eat rice. So like Ashkenazi Jews kind of, whenever they come to our Seders, there's like a lovely, like, hey, when in Rome, I guess I'll do this. And they get to enjoy a beautiful feast of, Iraqi Jews do too. Oh, that's good to know. Of like beautiful rice dishes with all these different either dried fruits or herbs or whatever for the season. So yeah, our Seders are fun, no doubt. It's a good time.
Did you explain why do we whip each other with scallions?
That is a good question. I never knew the answer growing up. I've heard that it is like related to the Egyptian slaves like whipping Israelites, but That's what I've heard. How are we doing with our bulbs?
Who's going?
Doing with our bulbs.
I kind of took some artistic liberties and I added some dried rose petals because I had them.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that.
Added some dried rose petals and some edible glitter. Just
hey, look at you.
Ooh.
This is a little bit going off script, but I think I want to try a little with saffron. And since I have the hot water going, let's see. Give me a second. We'll do a little experiment.
Nice. You're gonna put the saffron in the toot mixture.
Okay.
You're gonna put the saffron in the marzipan.
Yeah. So let me show you what I have so far. I have this many that look like this. They're really cute, but it might be nice to have a little variety of color. And I feel like you guys need saffron to be part of this whole thing. Like you can't have a Persian thing without saffron. So let's just try it. Let me show you what I'm gonna do. Just a sec. Now, usually I would let this brew for a while. I think that's too much water. Put some in the idea bowl. So what I have here, if you're not familiar with saffron, this is like the hardest container in the world to open. I always have a hard time with it. Okay, saffron is, I think the stamens or the pistils, I don't know, someone who's a botanist correct me on this one, but they're these very thin filaments from a very specific crocus flower. They have an incredibly beautiful aroma. And they are, saffron is the most expensive spice in the world. It is, fortunately, a little goes a long way. It's extremely labor intensive to get them out of the flower and into your hands. Iran has the best saffron in the world, but because of sanctions, it's not always available. There's a lot of like Spanish saffron. There's Afghanistan has gotten into the saffron game. And so you just sort of brew it in hot water. Some people say use an ice cube and let it sit, which becomes sort of like a cold brew. And you get this extremely fragrant liquid, and it has this beautiful color. If I were to let this go longer, it would go even darker and kind of orangier and redder and firier. But I'm just gonna throw a little bit of this into my almond mix, and it immediately colors it. It's so pretty. Here, let's see, how can I show you guys this? Look at that. And I'll mix it in. And so I, for my part, I'm gonna have some that will have this really beautiful golden color. And we can keep going from there.
Does anyone else have any saffron at home? They're trying this? Ooh, Barbara's doing it.
And like I said, you can also do just like a drop of red or green food coloring would also be really pretty. You'll get like a pale pink or a pale green. But yeah, I'm gonna do a little more almond flour to kind of counter that liquid. It's getting a little tacky. Okay, let's try this. And it'll be a different flavor too. I mean, saffron is the most beautiful flavor. All right. So
Judy asks if you grind the saffron first.
Oh yes, you can mash it in a Ziploc. You can do it in a spice grinder, like a coffee grinder that's clean, of course. Or you can do a mortar and pestle. My mom, like, just because I feel like I end up wasting it if I grind it every time because so much is left in the container. So like she'll do a bunch at a time and I just get it from her.
Cool. And how far in advance can you make these toot?
Well, that's a good question. I think they last a few days. You can keep them covered in the fridge. Over time, they will dry out, but this is getting super wet. But other than that, yeah, it's just, it's just almonds and sugar. So there's nothing in here that would go bad. The coconut ones do have egg white, so I wouldn't eat those more than a few days later. I'm gonna add a little more. I like definitely threw off the liquid to solid ratio here with my saffron experiment. We'll see how this goes. I think it'll be pretty. And if everyone else is done and you're waiting on me, we can always move on to the next thing.
Oh, we're good. I just paused because I had to wash my hands so I wasn't licking my fingers in front of everyone.
Yeah, it's definitely.
I highly recommend licking your fingers if you're doing this. It really tastes delicious. The rose and the sugar and the almonds, so good. How important is it that the toot are all the same shape and size?
I mean,
it's all just a matter of aesthetic taste, right?
Totally. I mean, I feel like there are Persian home cooks that are very particular about that stuff, and everything is like perfect and symmetrical and what have you. I'm gonna add a little more sugar. These are super dry or super wet. But you know, this is an opportunity for you to express yourself and your aesthetic too. So like I said, Halva was what I've been making recently. And usually there's like, they really smooth out the top and there's like very symmetrical, perfect decorations that go on. I don't like doing it that way. I like it to be kind of imperfect and kind of natural looking. So if that's more your aesthetic, go
kind
for
of like
it.
Wabi sabi.
Yeah, definitely. And there's definitely a world now, like Persian, like the aesthetic of Persian everything is often very florid and fancy and, you know, to some opinions overwrought, but there's also like younger generations that are bringing modern looks to that stuff too. So there's a lot of that going on with, oh my God, those are adorable. I love those. Gorgeous.
Wow, that's Barbara's? Wow.
Yeah. I
Love it.
used half pistachios because I didn't have quartered.
Beautiful.
So there they are.
I love it.
Gorgeous. Oh,
Thank
makes
you.
me wish I had pistachios.
I'm extremely excited about this. When I was in college many, many years ago, as you could tell, in Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Yes.
The most wonderful man I ever met in the whole world was from Iran, and he was Jewish.
Wow.
And that was in 1972. And so he worked for the government and he had to go back because he had 1 year to study in the United States and had to go back. And I couldn't go with him because of the political situation that was happening there at the time. So, yeah. And then we lost each other, which is really sad. But I've always been fascinated with the culture and so I was very happy to find this. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that story with us. That's quite an experience to have had.
Wow. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, Barbara. Food and love indeed, as Jennifer writes. Oh, Jennifer from Narrative Foods is on here. Jennifer, are you making this dish with us? I can't see you. Oh, I think your video's off. Or if you'd like to share just for a moment, you want to share about the box you're doing with Tannaz right now?
Yeah, we were so lucky that Tannaz worked with us for a very long time to create an amazing meal plan with recipes all around Nowruz. And yeah, it just landed on doorsteps this weekend, including hers, which was a little bit chaotic, I'm afraid. But yeah, this week is definitely a deep dive into the cuisine of this culture, and I'm excited about it. So thank you, Tannaz.
Let's see, how's everyone else's toot going? Anyone got any? Hey, Kohlhaas family, how are you guys doing over there? Thumbs up. You got a Persian marzipan mulberry to show off?
Let's see. Cute.
Ooh, very cute. Let's see. Anyone else? I guess are we ready to? Oh, how about hey? Oh, Jennifer, look at yours. I'm gonna spotlight that.
Adorable. I love seeing all these.
Very cute.
You're muted, Jennifer. We can hear you.
Yeah, you're muted, so I'm not sure exactly what you're saying.
Oh, I was just saying I did my own shape.
Yeah, I'm in a similar boat. I'm gonna spotlight myself for everyone. But these are
oh, those are perfect.
Yeah, you know, there's like perfection in the imperfection. I really do wish I had some of that saffron to make them colorful.
All right. If everyone else, I mean, I'm just rolling away here, but we can move on to the next thing for sure. I know I took a little side route with the saffron. I'll do one last one. I'll show you what I have. So this is what I have ended up with. You can see the two different colors.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And like people were asking, these will dry up a little bit as they sit. The sugar will soak some of the liquid and just like they'll just dry up as they sit. So they'll get a little more set, but they are delicious even right now. So if you want to pop one in your mouth, I encourage you to do so. Somebody is saying they look like little eggs, appropriate for Seder. That is true. It's all connected, man. Between Passover, Nowruz, and Easter, even like we have colored eggs. We'll talk about this when we plate everything. But yeah, I mean, there's so many connections between all of these different spring festivals. Cover and refrigerate or just leave them out to dry. Oh, and somebody's asking why they're called toot. You can refrigerate them or you can leave them on the counter. Either way, it's up to you. And why it's called toot. So toot is the Persian word for berry, specifically white mulberries. I encourage you to look up pictures of white mulberries because that's basically what we are going for in the look of these is that they're, oh, Zach's gonna bring them up for us, is that they emulate white mulberries. There they are. So that's what they look like. And they have those tiny green stems. They're kind of elongated and bulbous and that pale white color or pale cream color. So that's the name. And like, if you happen to have familiarity with Arabic, I think Arabic, my guess would be Arabic as well, or Hebrew. In Hebrew, the word toot is strawberry. So it's in that world. Like the word toot is around berries in that part of the world in all the different languages. Okay, should we move on from our toot? Let me wash my hands because they are so sugary, saffron-y, everything-y, sticky right now. Give me just a sec.
While Tannaz is doing that, does anyone else have any wonderful Iran stories like Barbara shared? Any connections to Iran or Persian Jewish culture?
Was that for me?
Oh, I was just asking the group here if anyone had any news to share. Looks like not, so we can keep on going. Ooh, but Judy has an interesting question. Does any spice taste a teeny bit like saffron, like paprika and turmeric?
You can't do it. I mean, I think that you could add the tiniest bit of turmeric to this while it's still wet and mix it in because turmeric doesn't have that strong of a flavor.
Should I turn her off?
And like, so you wouldn't necessarily taste it, and especially with the rosewater, it would overpower any flavor from it, but you would still get a yellow color. Oftentimes, like in Persian restaurants, like I'm sure they use turmeric in addition to saffron to you know, manage costs, you know, that kind of thing. So you could probably play around with it, but I haven't tried it. You'd have to report back on that. But no, saffron is incomparable. The flavor, nothing can be like that. Nope. Okay, are we all set here? Let's see. Let's make some badam sookteh. So the last thing we're going to cook is badam sookteh. Oh, we're already at 4. We gotta hustle on this. They're basically dark or burnt caramel almonds. It translates to burnt almond. And so all we're gonna do is toast some almonds, make a very fast caramel with a little bit of cardamom in it to give it some flavor. If you don't have cardamom, you can use a tiny touch of ground saffron. That's also beautiful and delicious. And that's like literally the dish. So let's do it. If you want to like go to the second camera, Zach will spotlight it and we can hang out over there.
Spotlight it. It's called 2 Stars Cook Cam, and I'm spotlighting it for everyone.
I'm not going to unmute.
Excellent. And are these dishes specific to Persian Jews, or would all Persians make these recipes?
These dishes are not specific to Persian Jews. All Persians make these recipes, but the fact that we have them for holidays is what makes them, what gives them the like Jewish connection. Okay, I'm gonna go over there. Somebody's asking about cinnamon. I've never tried it. Sounds delicious. You could try it. Okay, let's do this. So I just have a pan on, I don't know, medium-high heat. I'm gonna throw my almonds in there. Since we're short on time, I'm not gonna do the whole jar. I'll just do a handful. What it all looks like. So first step is just to toast these. I hope you guys can hear me. Toast them until they're just slightly fragrant, slightly colored. It only takes a few minutes. And then we'll get like a pan ready over here. I have this pan. Can I show you guys? Oh yeah, it's here. I have this pan here that we're going to sort of decant them to. So let's get that prepared. Let me grab my sugar and my cardamom. Okay. And while this is going, I'm just gonna oil my pan. This is only to hold them. They do get really sticky, so it's nice to have a little oil. Flavorless, I'm using grapeseed. You can use whatever. Just a little bit. Brush it on.
And how many, let's see, you said 1.5 cups of whole raw almonds?
Yeah, I'm not doing the whole thing just because we're short on time. But yeah, typically you do 1.5 cups. I'm gonna go higher. Let's do this fast.
And so in your pan, you have wax. It's just like a sheet pan with a wax paper coated.
Yeah, I have parchment paper in there. You can do wax paper, you can do foil.
Perfect.
You can do nothing. I'm just lazy about cleaning sheet pans, so I always do a little bit of parchment. And then I also like oil 2 forks for when it's time to flip these. So just this kind of thing. Honestly, I don't know if it helps enough. It's gonna get sticky anyway, but we'll do our best. Okay, I think we're good here. So I'm gonna, once you just get a little bit of toastiness, a little bit of color, you're able to start smelling them. You can take them off the heat and we'll just dump them over here for now. And then we'll make our caramel. I am eyeballing all of this. It's fine. It just needs to cover the almonds, so you can always add more. So I'm adding some sugar with my crazy jar or crazy box. It's open in 2 directions. This will melt down into a caramel. And we're gonna add a little bit of cardamom. Just to show you guys, rushing here. These are cardamom pods. Can you see them? Hold on, let me do this. They have little seeds inside. Again, a very like fragrant, perfumey scent to them. You can grind them down with the pod and the seed and all, which is what I have here, ground cardamom. And I'm just gonna toss in a bit. That much. And let me get a spatula so we can kind of move this around. So the trick here is that you want this to be hot enough that it stays liquid. Otherwise it gets really sticky and stretchy, but you don't want to burn your caramel. So once it's there, you want to work fast, but we're not quite there yet. Just give it a few more minutes.
And that's just sugar, and you added some oil to it?
I didn't add any oil. All of the liquid is just melted sugar.
Got it. But you did add the cardamom.
Yes. Just sugar and cardamom.
And are you on low heat?
I'm on medium to high heat.
Okay.
Say as high as you feel comfortable going. Just because you like, the higher it is, the faster it is, but the higher it is, the faster it burns too. So if it's getting crazy, lower the heat. But if you're going high, then keep it high. Okay. And you do want to get a little bit of color on here because you want that dark burnt caramel flavor before you put your almonds back in. So I don't think we're quite there yet. Now we're getting there. Okay. A couple more seconds, and then we're going to go in. Okay.
You can smell.
Find some of my almonds, and now is where it gets interesting. You just sort of cover each one, toss it about, and once it's covered, pop it on your dish. This is going fast. I'm gonna lower the heat. So now I'm on a low heat just because I do not want it to burn. But I'm gonna go a little higher because it's getting hard. That is the game of badam sookteh, is really striking that balance.
How long should it take for the sugar to get like liquid?
How long did it take us? Like 5-7 minutes, if that.
5-7 minutes? I thought it went faster than that.
I have my heat pretty high. I don't know, 3 to 5 minutes. How long did it take us?
Okay.
Yep, I think it definitely just has to do with how high you have the heat on, Julie.
Okay.
This is burning. And the other thing you can do if it is burning is to cool it, is get more sugar going. That will cool your pan. Your pan will.
You put them onto a baking sheet when they're all done?
Yeah, I'm just decanting them. Can you see right here? Just like I have a baking sheet, but I have an oiled piece of wax paper.
Got it.
See how we're doing here. There's definitely some burning going on in my pan. I don't know how y'all are doing. I think it still smells okay. It hasn't gone to the bad place. So I'm just gonna do another handful, and then maybe we'll leave it at that and start plating everything up.
Getting liquid now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that color to me is like the most beautiful, and it is actually quite dark, and that's like the most, oh, they're so sticky, the most delicious too, as far as I'm concerned. It is called badam sookteh. They are called burnt almonds, so you really want to go to the edge.
Is this only in a nonstick pan, Judy asks?
Doesn't have to be.
Nice. I had no idea this is so easy to just make caramel and roll almonds in them.
That's it. It's easy peasy. When my mom does these, she makes it all at once. Like she'll have the sugar going in one half of the pan. She'll be toasting her almonds in the other half. And then she'll just like bring them over as they're ready, the almonds into the caramel.
That's amazing.
But to me, that's like maybe one day. Yeah, these dark ones, these ones are going to be the good ones. This is great.
Got it. So we're just working it with two forks, yeah?
2 forks.
Cool.
Yeah, to me, it's the easiest way to get a handle on them and not like overhandle them.
Good. Oh, the sugar is hot. Whoa.
Okay. I'm just gonna do these last 2. And let's call it on badam sookteh, and we'll start blending everything up. All right. Okay, I'm gonna turn this off because I wanna pour you guys tea. So let's start doing that. Before anything else, let me pour y'all a cup of tea so we can see what that looks like. Do you wanna bring back this camera, Zach?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna take my tea off the heat. Let's see what we've got here. Put it here so y'all can see. So you can see it's steaming, but it's not boiling. So I'm gonna take some from this pot, and you have that really dark colored tea concentrate. And then we'll put it up against the white here so you can kind of see the color. And then you thin it out with hot water. And you end up with, it's backlit, so it doesn't look as pretty. Oh, there you go. See how pretty that is? So there's our tea. We have our toot. Let's get our coconut, our loz'e nargil. Like I said, it's not gonna be set at this point, so you guys should wait. But for the sake of demo, let's see what we've got here. So I have my pan of coconut from the fridge, and you want a sharp, small knife, like a thin knife. And what you're gonna do, again, you want these to be small. The like Persian sweets are a little bites to have with your tea. So what you're gonna do is cut long straight lines, about an inch apart to start, and then we'll do diagonal lines to make the diamonds. And I think it's good to keep your knife clean in between, just because it's just gonna hold everything in place better. The thinner and cleaner it is, the less it's gonna disturb everything. And then once you have your straight lines, I think mine are getting wider as I go down. You'll do like a sharp diagonal line across. Let's see. Hold on, let me see what I'm doing. Yeah, let's see. That's about the same width apart as the straight lines were. Super, making a mess here. Keep your knife clean. Do as I say, not as I do. Okay, before I go further, because these are just gonna get, they're not set yet. They're just gonna get messy, but I do wanna show you. Let me pull, let's see if I can pull one or two of these out that are relatively intact. Yeah. Hold on. Okay, not terrible. So you get these little, it's falling apart. They're not ready yet. You get these little diamond shapes. Hopefully yours will be sharper than mine. And then to decorate them, you can do a lot of different things. You can do another one of these, just like a simple little dot of green pistachio in the center. Instead of that, you can do oh, I did it, hands in the mouth. You can do a single cardamom seed. So if you bash one of these pods, there's little black seeds. These are really dry. Little black seeds inside. So you could do one of those. You could do your slivered almonds, although they don't have a lot of color contrast with the coconut. Or if you have dried rose petals, you can sprinkle those on top. So there's our loz'e nargil.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's not as perfect as they will be in a few hours, but you kind of get the idea. And I think that's everything. The almonds, you can leave those to just cool to room temperature, and once they're fully cooled, they'll be really crunchy and delicious. They're a great snack throughout the week, as much as they are like a nice sweet. So yeah, those are our sweets.
Can we see, yeah, do we have a little plating of all three?
Let's do it. Let's make one.
Or I guess the almonds are probably are they still pretty hot?
I can throw one on a plate, it's all good.
Nice.
I'm not pleased, I'm not happy with these coconut things. They're not ready yet.
A little more time. Did anyone else try to make their coconut diamonds today, or are they letting it sit longer? Let's see.
You will let them sit longer, not like I'm doing here. It's messy.
Looks like most folks are letting them sit longer.
Smart people.
Well, I ended up just like licking my fingers about the equivalent of like 4 coconut diamonds. So
nothing wrong with that. And so let me get some almonds for you guys too. Oh yeah, these are fine. Let's get some of these darker ones. I am thrilled to eat these almonds. They're so good.
Ooh, yum.
Almonds are amazing.
Anjali, you figured out the caramelization secrets?
No, because mine, I couldn't get them out of the pan fast enough, so they just kind of clumped up together.
They still taste good. I think that's fine.
Yep. Same thing over here. I just got a big old clump of them. But
yeah, you gotta move pretty fast.
And then they dried so quickly, but they were so hot in the beginning that it was hard to pull them apart. So.
It is a bit of a dance for sure. Here are our sweets.
Yum.
Tea.
Great, Tannaz.
And yeah, I'm going to put these in my Hefzin over here because I needed some sweets to put in it.
Oh, will you give us a little tour of the Hefzin to close things up?
I definitely will. Hold on, my hands are gross. One sec.
Sure.
Okay. So as I mentioned at the beginning, as of Saturday, the Persian New Year is being celebrated right now. It's a 2-week thing. And one of the things that people who celebrate, I won't say Iranians, I'll say Persians, because it is actually celebrated in a lot of other countries, Afghanistan, Tajikistan, wherever Kurds are. Even Kazakhstan has Nowruz festivities. But what we do is something called Hefzin. It's 7 things that start with the letter sin, which is like the S letter in Persian, each of which has a symbolic meaning. So there's sabzeh, which is like, these are sprouted lentils. They started from like a bag of lentils that was in my pantry, and this is what we get with great tending over the last 2 weeks. Like I said, we have colored eggs, but I didn't color eggs because we have these like beautiful teal eggs at my farmer's market. So I have like naturally colored eggs. Samah is sumac powder. It represents the sunrise. Sirke is vinegar for age, wisdom, patience. Sib is apples for like beauty. Sikke is coins. You can't see these. I have like a whole mess of international coins that I love a lot. And, you know, coins are always like prosperity, but I like this particular mix is for me for travel, just because I've been stuck in my house for the last year, like the rest of us. So that's my hope for the coming year. Samanu is this like weird, it's like a wheat pudding. Not everyone, but like in my family, like we have this much samanu that we keep in the freezer and bring out every year. The symbolism is like, it's another prosperity thing. Like it's supposed to represent wealth, but I will say it's made from germinated wheat. So between like the eggs and the sprouted lentils and the germinated wheat, there is obviously like rebirth, newness, spring theme going on here. Seed is garlic for medicine, health, that one, that healing that we all need right now. And then Sombul is hyacinth. This is a naranj. It's a bitter orange or a Seville orange. I think that they put this one in a bowl of water and it's floating and represents the planet Earth. I've never done that before, but thanks to Narrative Foods, I have a Seville orange this year, so I might add that one. Candles for light. There's usually a mirror, which I don't have one. I need to add one to my Hefzin. And then often there's a sacred book. It can be a Quran. In Jewish families, it's often a Torah. In a lot of families of all religions, it's a book of poetry, usually Hafiz, the great Persian poet. I have just a small love songs or love poems of Pablo Neruda. That's my poetic sacred book right now this year. But yeah, and there's always candles. So that's my Hefzin. I'm thrilled to share it with you guys because no one else is going to see it this year. And then yeah, there's always sweets as well. So it comes with wishes of a sweet new year and like the renewal and rebirth that spring brings every year and that we especially need this year.
Beautiful, Tannaz. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for being in my kitchen with me, spending this time with me.
So great. Well, thank you, everyone. Does anyone have any last questions or want to show off their sweets or tea or anything before we hop off? Let's see. Well, I see some people are munching, which is great. Lots of thank you, Tannaz messages coming in.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it.
Well, Hag Sameach, everyone. Happy Passover. Nowruz Mubarak. Happy Nowruz. I guess just want to send everyone off with a couple links. Tannaz runs a really wonderful Instagram account where she's always posting very cool content about Persian Jewish and just cooking in general. And I really encourage you to go follow her. I just dropped the link in the chat, but it's at Tannaz Sassooni. If you're going to Instagram, we'd love if you'd follow the Community Kitchen Instagram. We're going to start putting more content up there as well. And I'm going to I'll send everyone a follow-up email with the recording so that you can view this or send it to your friends if you'd like, and you can always refer back to it. Just a reminder, we were dedicating this community kitchen to Know Us Without You. Just posted their link one more time in the chat. And without further ado, I guess we can just say happy Sunday. Tannaz, go for it.
I was going to say, we would love to see what you guys created. So if you are posting this stuff on Instagram, be sure to tag me and tag Community Kitchen so that we can find your beautiful sweets and enjoy those photos.
Indeed, yes. Would absolutely love to see what you are making. So please share with us. Cool. Well, thank you so much again, Tannaz. This has really been a pleasure.
Thank you all.
All right, everybody. Happy Sunday. See ya.
Thank you.
Bye.